What's up, my dudes? So you want to be an MX Simulator track maker? Well, you found the right video, dude, because I've got a lot of experience with this, and I'm going to make this into a bit of a guide series here. This is just kind of the first one. This is sort of the introduction to it. I just want to take you from nothing to something here. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to be able to show you everything in this video because it is quite extensive whenever you actually get into it. I mean, you literally can put anything you want to in the game and do anything you want to with it. And there's even some things that I don't even know so much about. I mean, there's certain like sequence stuff where you can put rain on your track and you can put like anything you can imagine. I mean, there's certain things that it's like I don't even know anything about them, and it's like pretty big track making things, but I know pretty much all the basics, and I can get you to a cool point here where you feel like you actually can have the potential to even make a track, because I think that's a really big thing whenever you're trying to explain how to do anything with any sort of editor out there, whether it be like a video editing software or a custom track editor or anything like that. I think it's really important to just learn how to turn the knobs, not necessarily how much to turn the knobs. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to try to make you make tracks like me. I just want to show you how to make tracks, period. That's kind of the whole point to it. I just want to show you how to do it. So first, what you want to do is download MX Simulator. Now, I'm pretty sure you can put the editor into the demo. I'm not 100% sure, like with the current demo, but I think you can, but you're kind of shooting your own foot there if you're putting the editor into the demo and you don't even have the full game, because you can't even make a track on the blank track in the game. I know you have to have the full version to put the blank track in there. So basically, once you get the game downloaded, you go in here to your properties, and all you do is right here at the end of the target right here, you just go all the way over and you put space -- editor right here. So yours should look something like this right here. You're just going to hit space and then -- editor right there, and then you hit apply, and now you have the editor in the game. It's just that simple. Now, if you want the blank track, you have to go to the, just type in Google MX Simulator blank track, something like that. It'll take you to this page right here, and all you do is you download this blank track zip file right here, and it's just going to give you just a totally blank canvas. It's not going to have anything like added into the track. So like basically, if you don't download this blank track, you can go into any track in the game and edit on it. You know what I'm saying? You can go into any track in there and build your own jumps, whatever you want to do. Obviously, you don't want to save it and release it because that's like straight up copying someone else's track. But, you can go in there and use the editor on any track in the game. So once you get your blank track downloaded, it's going to look something like this right here. And the way that you actually get into the editor on any track out there is you just hit tab, and it's going to take you into this right here. And what you do, your simple controls here is just, you hold down the right click to kind of drag it around like that, pretty simple. And then your left click is actually your action, whatever kind of action you want to do. And I know if you look over here at all these different options, your head might explode and you might think, dude, there's no way I can do this. How do I learn this? What does all this shit do? Just calm down, calm down. I'm going to help you, okay? It's not that difficult. It really is pretty simple once you learn it. So one little confusing thing when you first get into it is like, let me just explain this right now, okay? You've seen me zoom out right there. Right here with your zoom, strength, focus, and radius, this is sort of your actual, like your tool adjuster. So your zoom, you can zoom it way out here. And then if you want to zoom it in, you can just zoom it in like that, all the way down to a super level. Wow, dude, I'm seeing some ants crawling on the ground. And then you got your strength, which is actually how strong the tool is that you're using, how much. It's basically like a multiplier of how much of whatever it is that you're doing, and then you have your focus, which is actually changing this round, the inner circle of the round radius, and then you got your radius, which is the full circle size right here. So, you know, that's how much it's going to taper off. Like, you know, your strength is the lower you have this, the kind of the less abrupt it's going to be between both of these circles right here. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have it like super strength, then the circle's not going to matter as much. But if you have it lower strength, then it is. Like, you know, if you have this lower strength right here and you got your inner circle really small, it's going to be a very like tapered off, very kind of smoothed off kind of look that you get. And then if you got this focus really high, it's going to be a very jagged kind of style to it. So that is what your tools are right there. That's how you kind of move around with it. Very, very simple. And all this other stuff up here, this is your actual, what the tool is doing. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you adjust the tool, but all this up here is what the tool is doing. So you got your raise, which is a very simple, it's exactly what you think it is. It's just raising the dirt up. Okay. So if you click once, as you can see, like right here, everything's flat, like you would expect. And if I got this on strength 0, now this is something you have to go in there and kind of play around with. The strength, actually knowing how much like 0.25 is versus negative, you know, when you start working in the negatives and stuff, it can get kind of confusing, but you just learn, like, you know, if you raise, like, if I just do one click, 0.25, you can see it's like barely raise the dirt up out there. But if I raise, let's just say 1 over here, now you can see that's raised a little bit more. It might be a little bit hard to see with that dirt decal there, but and then you can go in there and do like multiple clicks. Okay, so if you click like 1, 2, 3. It's almost the equivalent of basically like having this on 3. I don't know if it's exact, but it's somewhere around there. So as you can see, now we have raised dirt up here, and that's how you just get your simple whatever kind of look that you're going for. I mean, that's how you raise the dirt up. So like, for instance, let me go new race real quick. Oh, and a little tip, without having to like you know, try to get on a certain place of the map, if you just want to start yourself back over on the gate without having to save or lose anything or do anything like that, all you got to do is just go to new race and it'll spawn you back on the gate without losing anything, without having to exit the game and come back in and do all that. Just go to new race and it'll take you right back to it. So alright, here we go, dude. So you see how we just had this little raised terrain out there, nothing crazy, but you could see how you could basically almost build anything with this. Like, let's just say you're trying to build some mountains over here. Well, you can get, put the strength on 1.5 and just start kind of clicking away like this right here. And then you're going to get something like that right there. So that quickly, I've almost already made a like little free ride type of section. I mean, you can see how easy that was right there. All I had to do was use the raise tool and bam, just like that. This is, I'm telling you guys, this is probably the easiest editor I've ever used in my life. I mean, it really is. It is a very, very easy thing. Now, where it gets tricky is whenever you start getting into, I'll explain that here in a minute. Let me go ahead and get through these first couple of tools here so that you kind of understand what you're doing. So just like how you have the raise tool, you got the opposite of that, which is lower, which is exactly like what you think. A lot of this stuff is really like what you think. It doesn't take a lot of explaining, but to a complete beginner, it might take a little bit of explaining just so they know what's going on here. So obviously your lower is going to be lowering it. So if I just, you know, lower click multiple times, now I've got a hole over here, right? So as you can see, that quickly I can already totally adjust the terrain here. So very, very easy to do that part of the actual editor. It's not hard at all to adjust the terrain portion of it. That's a very, very simple thing right there. So let me get back over here. Okay, let's stop right there. Now, if you want to go in here, your next option is smooth. It's exactly like what you think it is, dude. You're just smoothing those hills down a little bit. So this is going to give you a bit more of a realistic look on some of your kind of rolling hills and stuff like that. So if I come in here and just kind of smooth these hills out, I'm actually having to click multiple times. You can't just hold it down. You got to do, the multi, how fast can you click action here. Now I've got kind of a smoothed off hill, got you that kind of natural elevation hillside look to it there. So very, very simple way to do that. Now if you crank this smooth up super strength, now I'm going to be almost to the point where I'm flattening this right here. Like super smooth all that. So then you kind of get that right there. Now your smudge, this, I don't use a lot of the smudge tool. It just kind of, I really think all it does is smudges the terrain together. That's all I can really tell that it's doing. To be completely honest with you, I don't even know what the hell smudge is doing. I don't even know really where you would want to use this anyways. Here, let me just test this real quick. Raise up some dirt right here, and then raise up some dirt right here. So we got something that kind of looks like that. Smudge. Oh, yeah, I kind of see what it's doing now. So basically, I don't know. That's a very weird tool. I apologize for not really knowing what the heck I'm doing. So the smudge kind of works like you actually have to hold it and drag it for it to smudge something. So like I can kind of, yeah, that's basically what it's doing. It's almost like you're just like, I don't even know really what to call this right here, but you're kind of just like pushing the terrain around a little bit. That's kind of like what it's doing. You're just clicking and holding, and it's just kind of smudging and pushing the terrain. So then you're kind of getting this kind of crazy wavy look to it. So if you ever want to do that, then you can. Now snap, not really sure what the hell this does. Sorry, some of these tools I don't even use at all. I'm just going to be straight up with you right now. Some of these tools I don't use them. I don't feel the need to use them. What the hell does this snap do? Snap. Maybe it's just kind of like snapping the terrain down to a certain point. Shit, I don't know. Got this little crazy fucking box action going on. Either way, moral of this story is I don't ever use snap, so it's not something that's like a necessity. I don't think smudge and snap is really a necessity. It's not like a super important thing. So how do you actually build a jump? That's probably the first sort of question. How do you do it? How do you build a jump? Let's go ahead and get some of this smoothed out right here. This is a kind of quick fix way. If let's just say you don't want that there anymore, you can just kind of, 5 smooth this out. Now this is not going to make it perfectly flat like it was before. This is just kind of smoothing what you already had there. And you can always exit the game without saving and then come back in, and it's going to be the original flat surface. So we'll just do that real quick. Now if you want to keep whatever you had, then you got to make sure and come over here and save it before you exit the game. But as long as you don't exit the game, it'll have it saved. So you can go to new race, and like I said, it'll take you back to the gate without actually losing any progress on it. But it all depends on if you actually exit the program on if you have to save it or not. So okay, so now we're back in here at our original track, and this is how you actually go in there and really build your jumps. The raise and the lower tool, that's more for like your mountains and just kind of random weird valleys and elevation and stuff like that. You really use your what you call gradient tools for your jump building and your corner building, rut building. All of that kind of stuff is what that is used for. And you can even build elevation with your gradient tool. That's actually how you do a lot of the more extreme elevation stuff. But basically, it's pretty simple. All you do is go to gradient placement right here, okay? Then you come down here to new gradient. You just hit that, and now you got this new gradient right here. Very, very simple, okay? And, you can drag it around like that. You can make it bigger, shorter, anything you want to do with it, basically. But what you do is the kind of front point of it is going to be obviously this point right here that kind of has this cross section on it. So you just kind of place it however you want to place it, but you're kind of thinking of, if you're trying to make a jump, you just want to kind of, if I want to make a jump right out of the start right here, that's how I'm going to actually place my gradient. So Then once you have that placed, you go to gradient edit. Now you've got this sort of side view Mario 2D action kind of thing going on here. So this is how you actually edit in MX Simulator. You edit everything from the side. And I know that can seem kind of weird if you're expecting like a 3D editor kind of system to the game. It's not like that with MX Simulator, but it's really not that hard once you learn how to do it. So basically, if you guys know that game, it was some old game on the PC. I think it's called like maybe Free Ride or Free Rider. You guys remember that, where you're like this little stick dude on a bicycle and you can draw your tracks from kind of like a side view 2D view like this, and you could build your tracks in that game. That's basically what this is, but you can just turn it into 3D. So what you do, let's just say whatever kind of jump you're wanting to make, okay? You come in here and you place these dots, all right? So if I'm wanting to make just let's just say I'm wanting to make a tabletop. You just kind of, you drag your dots up like this. I'm clicking and moving. Moving up here, click once, move up here, click again, move up here, click again. That's kind of my jump face, right? And then you're kind of building your actual table like this right here, and then building your landing like that right there. So that's how you're actually in the jump editor portion of it. Now, okay, so now you might be thinking, well, how do I actually get it into the track? Because like even if I build it right here and go back into the editor, there's nothing there. So you basically have to paint this into the track itself. So how you do that is you go up here to linear add. And what this is going to do is it's just going to add this on top of the flat surface that's already there, okay? So if I go like this right here, zoom out a little bit, and you're still using all of your same round tool adjustment like you were for the raise and the lower over there, like I showed you before. And this is just basically playing around with your width. And if you lower this a bunch, that's just going to kind of like taper off the edge of the jump, kind of the sides of the jumps. You can play around with your strength on that too. But yeah, and then you just go in there and you hold down when you put it on linear add. You just want to hold this down and drag it across where your jump was actually built. You want to kind of imagine in your mind that 2D editing that you did, but picture it from a top-down perspective. That's kind of how you're painting that on there like that. And then there you go. You got a tabletop. Just that easy. So you can see the just endless possibilities of what you can make with that right there. Of course, I'm going to overjump it by like 50 feet, but you can just see the endless possibilities. So now, like for instance, if I want to come over here, just make a new gradient, come over here like this, put it like I want it, go into edit, and I can just come in here and this is kind of how you go underground, right? This is kind of your ground level. You can go underground, kind of make I don't know, some little downhill little section, then make a little jump like this. Then you can go down like that. And then you can go up like this right here, and see now you're kind of building your elevation, okay? That's kind of how you start to do that. Now, if you raise your very outside circle up any from the actual, basically the equator, the ground level, which is right here, if you raise this up, then that's going to basically just treat that like it's going to go on past that at that certain level. So then if I go in here to linear add, like I can, it's going to make that kind of downhill section, then the jump, and then it's going to, it built right up to that point, and then it stops right there. So I've got this kind of raised level that I'm working with over here now. So very, very simple. Let me go over here and hit this real quick, kind of show you. But you can see, I mean, the millions and trillions and quintillions of different possibilities of jump design and building and all that just in a straight type of sense. You can do that. So see how I'm kind of jumping up onto this raised surface here. And then that's obviously raised from our original flat surface that we had. So let me not try to go too deep into this. This is just a beginner video. I know there's a lot more to this, trust me, but I just wanted to explain the beginner stuff. So that's how you make just a flat surface, right? Now, if you want to just wipe all of this without having to exit the game and come back, what you do is you go to new gradient, right? And you put it over here in the flat, okay? And then you go to gradient edit and you see how that's perfectly flat right there. Now, the difference between your linear add and your linear paint is your add is what it's actually adding, you know, whatever you had there on top of what's already there. So for instance, let's just say I come back here to my original tabletop that I had and I go to linear add and I add it again in the same spot. It's going to basically double that up right there. You know, it's going to add that twice, right? So check this out right here. Now we got this massive tabletop, whereas we only had more of a standard kind of medium-sized tabletop before. So now we got a big boy here. So basically that's explaining the linear add. Now the linear paint is it's going to paint over what's already there. You understand what I'm saying? So basically I've got this over here and it's perfectly flat. So if I go to linear paint, it's just going to paint that perfectly flat surface over anything else that's already there. And so it might be a little bit confusing understanding that at first, but let me kind of explain it like this. So let's just say, let's put this tabletop back there, back on linear add, just for simplistic purposes. Now it's just going to add that tabletop like it was from the very beginning, not the doubled up tabletop. Now if I come over here and put this right where that jump is, and I go back to the gradient edit, you can come down here to set from terrain, all right? So that's going to basically pick up any terrain within that gradient surface there. So I hit set terrain and it built that tabletop that was there on the ground in this gradient. So now I can go in here. Let's say I want to extend this this landing out here without having to go in there and completely redo the gradient, right? I just want to maybe extend the landing a little bit. Maybe it didn't have as much of a landing as I wanted. Well, I can just come out here, adjust this, and get that landing a little bit further out, and then I can go in here to linear paint instead of linear add and go in here like this, and it's just going to add on top of that further landing that I had there. So I hope that explained the linear add and the paint a little bit better to you guys. It really is what the name of it is. You're either adding on top of or you're just painting over, but it can be a little bit tricky to actually understand what that means in the game if you don't really know the editor options in there currently. But that's kind of the basics to the jump building. You know, you can make whoops like that. You can do anything like that. Yeah, it's quite the simple thing. I mean, just go in there and play with it, man. This is the fun of track making in MX Simulator. You know, I can go in here. This is what makes MX Simulator so amazing, is there's no limit to what you can do. So I can come in here and just make a damn straight up wall. Like, I can do anything. That's what makes it so, you know, there's no limit to what I'm doing here. I can create any sort of terrain that I want to, other than actually like putting a tunnel. You can't exactly do that in MX Simulator because you're editing from the top down. Hopefully JLV will add that eventually where you can actually put tunnels in the game and stuff like that. But so if I go in here to linear add, now I've got this crazy sharp uphill. We might have to hit that from the backside, dude. Whoa. Okay, so as you can, this is the backside of it right here, but you can see the endless possibilities now. I mean, this is like insanity. You would never ever see a hill like this in a normal motocross game. Like, you would never see that. So that's just some of the stuff that you can make in MX Simulator very, very easily with your jumps. And whenever I was talking about, like, you can also copy the gradient, right? So I can have two of those, and then I can come over here and be like, edit, and then maybe I want like a shorter one over here right beside it. You know, boom, 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 linear add, boom, just like that. You got a shorter one right there. So that kind of explains that whole process. Now, if you don't like what you have in the actual gradient section, you can just flatten it just like that right there. And then go back to, if I can't add this on top of it, because if you add flat on top of what's already there, it's not going to do anything. You actually have to paint that on there like this right here. And see, when you get into the paint, now you can get some really interesting little sections like this right here. I mean, you can start doing just crazy stuff with it. And then you can start actually using your raise and lower tools in conjunction with your jump faces and your gradient stuff, and that's how you go in there and make some really unique stuff. Let's see how that turned out right there. I don't even know what that's going to look like. You could have some like pert near like alien looking kind of pyramids style little sections and stuff like this on the track. That's kind of how you go in there and start making stuff like that. You can get these just kind of random fun kickered out jumps right there that you're going to completely explode your forks on. But so that's the gradient as far as in a straight line. Okay, now you're probably wondering, well, how do I make a corner? How do I make a berm? How do you do that in this game? Well, one way to do it is you can come in here like this right here and lower your focus down and get like this, and then let's just say you raise the terrain up all the way around in a circle like this. Might have to kind of double that up right there. Now, if I go over there and look at that, pardon me, flying through the sky right there for 5 hours, let me go over here and show you. So, that's a very, very quick way to build a berm in the game, just raising terrain. You can do a lot with just the raise and lower terrain option in the game. Just raised it in a full kind of Talladega style corner right here, and then there you go. There's your corner. Now, you can also then go into you could lower right at the spot of the corner like this right here. So then now you've kind of got your rut in the berm of the corner. You know what I'm saying? Now you're kind of getting, you're kind of building that combination up right there. Whoa, hit that a little bit fast. So see, now it's kind of giving me more the feeling like I'm in an actual berm. Now, if you're wanting to make, literal ruts, let's just actually go back here, kind of paint some of this back down flat. Whoa, I don't know what that's doing. Let me go back to flat, and that's making some insanity stuff here. Okay, let's go back, flatten this out. So let's put our original trusty tabletop back here. Let's go back to add on this. So if let's just say you're wanting to add some ruts up the face of this tabletop. So basically you can put this on like 1, something like that. Go in here and you just lower it going up the face of the tabletop just like this right here. You can make them squirrely. You can kind of do anything you want to. You can double up on some of them where you got it more rutted in certain areas than other places. So let's go back over here to this tabletop. I can kind of show you what that looks like real quick. Where your finesse comes from is when you start using the smooth tool on everything. That's really, anybody can raise and lower anything. And, you're going to get this kind of crazy look right here where you've got these, massive, just random ruts going up the jump face. Now, where it gets tricky is like, okay, well then how much do I smooth? That's kind of what it gets into. Go in here, you just kind of learn how much each time you smooth something, you start to learn the strength that you got to use, the focus, all that different kind of stuff. That really does just become a kind of a, you learn it like secondhand nature. You learn it like the back of your hand. I mean, it becomes you don't even have to think about it. Like whenever I make a track now in MX Simulator, I just go in there and make it. I don't even, I just go in here real quick. Let me just show you. I'll just go in here. Let me kind of just show you how quick I can actually go in here and make a section in this game. It's been a little while. I haven't made a lot of tracks in a minute, but I can go in here like this right here. Okay, let's just get us a cool little triple nipple, just like that. Linear add, okay. Down like so. Alright, just like that. Then I can come in here and then do raise up in the corner, just like so. Very, very quickly, I can come in here. As you can see, I'm not really even thinking about what I'm doing here. I'm just doing it, and that's kind of what it starts to become. You just start to learn every little thing, and then you're just doing it so quickly that you're not even thinking about it anymore, man. That's just how it becomes. So what I'm trying to get at here is you do get to the point where it just all becomes so much easier than it once was, and that's a very big deal. Like that right there, I just made a triple in a corner while I was sitting there talking to you without even really thinking about what I was doing. I did kind of smooth this off maybe a little too much there. Not going to be able to jump the triple all the way. Gonna have to get a little bit more speed for that, but as you can see, like I've already made a triple jump in a corner, just like that, very, very quickly. Now your finesse comes in with your how far the distances are of the jumps, exactly how you make the corners, how much you smooth every little section, where exactly you put the ruts. All that takes the time of it. You know, it's not the actual building so much, it's the little intricacies of it. So that, like I was saying before, that's one way to make a corner right there. Now the other way is you can basically, there's multiple different ways to do things in the editor in MX Simulator. You understand what I'm saying? You can make jumps with the raise tool. You can make jumps with the gradients. You can make corners with the raise tool. You can make ruts with the gradient tool. You can do anything with anything almost. It's just going to be slightly varied in the way that it looks. So another way to do corners, you can go in here like you're going to build a jump face, right? Like just like this, new gradient, go to gradient edit. Then you come in here, and what you want to do here is you want to think of it like that, like this is the start of the inside corner of your berm. You understand? Like the inside is right here, and then this over here is the outside of the berm. So you just want to build this up. Like picture looking at a berm from the very side of it. That's kind of like what you're thinking of. You're not thinking of it like that's a jump face. You're thinking of it like that's the actual side of a berm. And the difference here is instead of going to linear add, now you go to radial add or paint. And like I've explained the difference between add and paint before, it's the same difference with the radial. The only difference with the radial is it's not taking it on from a straight perspective. It's taking it on from a kind of like a circular perspective. So now you're wanting to go in here and just radial add this around this corner like this right here. So now you're actually getting a really detailed type of corner here, more so than just this, you know, this kind of random raised and lowered corner that I'd made really quickly over here. I feel like when you make things with the gradient, you can get them a lot more specific, whereas the raise and the lower tool, you can still make jumps and corners and stuff with that, but I feel like those are a little bit more made for like mountains and elevation and little ruts, stuff like, it's just kind of hard to explain it, but everything kind of has its own purpose. But you can see the difference in, you know, the corner that I made with the raise and the lower, and then the corner that I made with the actual gradient tool. So let's just go in here. You can go in here. Smart thing to do is kind of always smooth some of your corners out. You just learn little things like that. You know, I can already tell that I'm going to have to smooth that corner out before I even go in there and look at it. That's a really big thing that you start to get good at whenever you've worked a lot in the editor of the game. You start to, like, I could go in there, no joke, I could go in there and build an entire track without ever even going into the actual game. I could seriously build the whole thing from start to finish from a top-down view. And that's insane when you actually think about that, because you can't even see what it's actually going to look like. You know, you're not even seeing it in 3D, but you get so good at just knowing what stuff looks like that you don't even really have to. You learn how to do stuff without having to spend so much time going back into the actual game and looking at how it actually looks like in the game in 3D. You know, you just start to learn little things about it, and just like this right here, you know, I knew I was going to have to smooth that off before I ever even got into it. And now we've got this very, very natural, super big kind of berm style corner to it there. So yeah, that is pretty much your basics with your jump making and corner making. And obviously you can go a lot deeper with both of those things. Like I said, I'm probably going to make separate videos on that, but now that's kind of your editing options there. Now, once you get down here to timing gate, billboard, statues, tile map edit, and decals, that's kind of a whole different thing. So an easy way to look at this is you've got your raise, lower, smooth, smudge, snap, which is kind of just your, you know, your very, very standard. You can raise stuff, lower, smooth, like I showed you the smudge and the snap. That's kind of in its own little sector, right? If you want to kind of mentally think about cutting that off right there, and all 5 of these options are kind of in their own place. And then your gradient tools right here are kind of in their own place. So you want to kind of cut that off in its own little sector, right? So you got your first sector right here. second sector. And then your third sector is going to be your timing gates, billboard, statues, tile map, edit, and decals, right? And then your fourth sector is sort of down here on your actual editing tools, okay? So if you'll split it up like that in your head, you can really start to learn how simple it is instead of just looking at it in this full-blown list. Looks like a damn 3-mile long scroll that you can't read to save your life. It just, you know, it gets so confusing when you look at it like that, but just kind of take it one little sector at a time. Just kind of learn it. Now, when you get into your timing gates, okay, let me just explain this in a very, very quick manner. This is kind of starting to get into some of the coding of the game, which is the really difficult part, where you actually got to know how to put certain decals in there and do this, and put how you actually get your objects in there and your billboards, your trees, and all that. That's a very difficult thing to learn, and it's going to take a separate video to really even explain that. But your timing gates, this is kind of like how you're going to go in there and start to make it to where it's actually counting your lap on the track. Now, I'm not going to really be able to get into it in this video. This is just a very beginner video, but don't worry about, if you're just trying to go in there and goof off and build a track, you're not really worried about making it raceable, you don't even have to worry about this timing gate thing right here. So now your billboards, when you get this blank track, there's already some default billboards and statues in there, but those are just kind of like defaults, okay? You know, let me just go over there, right over there to them so you can see them real quick. So you can see these little default objects over here. You've got some kind of buildings, scoring towers. You got this little truck over here. Got the finish line. So that's your statues. That's actually physical. Some of them have collision to them. You can actually run into them. Some of the tough blocks over there you can run into. You got these people. And then you got your billboards, which you can't actually run into those. So a lot of times your trees are billboards and stuff like that. So if you're just wanting to use the default stuff that's already in the game, all you got to do is just click on whichever billboard that you want, and then you just click it more and more and more, and now you're kind of copying that over and over and over. So whichever tree that I clicked on right there, you can see I've quickly already kind of made a little bit of a forest here. Definitely nothing too crazy, but already started kind of placing these trees down, you know. And if I wanted to go in here, now the statues, they're a little bit different. Those you're actually going in there and adjusting which way they're facing. You know, you actually have to drag and pull those, and if you want to duplicate those, you just hit D. So if I want to get like a couple of these little stands, these are actually, let's see what those look like real quick. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Whenever I let go of the controller to type something and then I have to go back in there, it definitely is a bit tricky to keep the bike under control. Those are completely backwards. What's up, dude? So, yeah, so kind of building the grandstands like that, and you can do that with any object. You know, you can rotate it. If you get it on like a bit of raised terrain, these actual statues here will like move with the raised terrain, so that's going to kind of angle up the side of that mountain over there. You can see how it looks kind of crazy like that, but that's kind of how you place your different objects and your billboards in the game. That's where all of your like scenery really comes from there. So that's how you move that around. Now, to how to actually get whatever kind of object you want in there, and the trees that you want in there, and the rocks that you want in there, or whatever, that's a whole different situation. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go in there in a separate video to show that to you, but if you just want to mess around with the default objects that are on the blank track, that's how you do that. Now like I said, the statues, and then your decals. Now, there's not actually any decals on the blank track here. This is a bit of a confusing thing that you'll run into when you first get into the editor. You might think that like, oh, well, this dirt right here is the dirt in the game, and then this grass over here is the grass in the game. Now, what you do is with your tile map, you think of your tile map like what the ground actually feels like. That's the actual traction of it. And your decals is you can make the ground look like anything you want it to. You understand what I'm saying? You could put like a sand decal down and then put like a really slick kind of feeling to it, and then make it like feel completely different. Or you could put like like a concrete decal down and then make it feel like grass, and then have grass roosts come up when you're riding on concrete. I don't know why you would ever do that, but I'm saying that to try to explain it to you that they're two completely different entities here. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you go in here to your tile map and you start, you just click down wherever you want to click down here, and that's going to put the dirt down, quote unquote. But all the tile map is you're just kind of putting down the traction of it. That's all. You're just putting down a dirt traction and a dirt roost file. That's all you're putting down, right? So if I go over here, you got your dirt and your grass. That's your standard ones that are in the blank track. So now I'm putting down a dirt traction, but this is not what people use in their custom tracks. Like they will, basically, let me just show you right here. So like for instance, they will go down here. Let's just say they want their on track to feel like dirt. Okay, they'll go in here, they'll put this on their actual on track. Let's just say this is a corner over here, right? They start kind of building it like that. Let's just say the track goes up here. You can see how you can pretty quickly already build a track layout just like that. And then comes back around to that jump, whatever, you know. People kind of build their tracks like that right there. But what they do after this point is this is where you go in there and put your decals in there. So now you can see how basic that really looks. The default tile maps. Like, let me just show you. You can see how beginner and basic the dirt actually looks here. I mean, it's super low resolution, like doesn't even really look like dirt. It looks like a game from, I don't know, 07. But, you know, so that's kind of what you got. Now, what you do on top of this is you go in there and start putting down decals. So you're going to put down anything you can possibly imagine, any sort of image you can imagine. So, like, you could put down a water decal where it looks like water, or you could put down a rock decal where it's like a black rock on the ground, or you could put a sand decal, dirt decal, brownie mix dirt looking decal. You could put a lava decal down, whatever you want it. You can put any decal anywhere on the track, but your tile map is the actual traction of it. And you can also go in there and make any sort of tile map that you want to. So you can go in there and make your own traction, like within actual coding numbers of it. You could go in there and make a traction in the game that is like super traction, like concrete, right? You can go in there and make your own tile map, make it super traction, and then you would have a different, another tile right here that you would be able to then paint wherever you wanted it to. Then you could put a actual concrete decal over that, and then that's how it would look really good. Not only look like concrete, but also feel like concrete in the game. So that's how the tile map and the decals work. It's kind of hard to explain that without actually having them in the game here, but that's kind of a separate video. There's a lot of stuff to it when it gets past the just building the track point. When you start talking about the billboard, statues, decals, tile maps, and timing gate, all of that is basically stuff that you have to exit out of the game and actually put your own files in there. You understand what I'm saying? You actually have to put your own objects and trees because you can put anything you want to in there. It's not already built into the editor. It's not already in here because it's unlimited. That's how you see, you know, anything, space tracks, tropical tracks, red bud with real life, you know, tough blocks that say Monster Energy on them, or you've got anything, you've got any sort of skybox you can imagine. All that stuff is actually done in the files of the game. It's done in the, whenever you first got that blank track file and you put that into the game, that's where all that comes from. You go in there and you put different files in there, and that's how you load your own custom objects, your custom billboards, your custom decals. Everything is custom to the editor. But this blank track, this is just kind of the default version of it, right? This is just the standard version, just trying to get you into learning some of these different, just how to make the actual on-track part of it, which is a totally different animal than the objects and decals of it. You understand? You know, you can build a track really easily like this without having to worry about objects and decals, but your track's going to look like shit. So eventually you're going to have to start learning how to put the objects and decals in there. But if you're just trying to go in there and mess around with some of the jumps, it's not really that big of a deal at the beginning because you're just learning how to make tracks anyways. So yeah, that's about all there is to the beginner. Just showed you how to go from nothing to something. Very, very simple when you actually think about it. Some of these other options can be a little bit more extreme, so I didn't really want to get into those here, but yeah, you can play around. You can pretty much make anything you want to with what I just showed you. It basically, all this other little stuff, it just kind of gets it a little bit more precise, gets it a little bit more a specific way, but you can still make anything you want to with what I just showed you. You just might have to get a little bit crafty with it. You know, you might have to get a little bit smart with the way that you build some things, and that's part of being a good track maker. Is you have to be a very innovative person. You have to be a very strong-minded person, if something seems like you can't build it, you just find a way to do it. You got to be that kind of person in MX Simulator with track making, because there's little workarounds to almost everything to it. You know, if like you're running into a problem like, man, I don't know how to make this do that, or I don't know, whatever, you start to just figure out in your head little workarounds for it and ways to do it, and then you figure all that stuff out, and then it becomes pretty easy. But yeah, man, either way, hope this video helped you guys out. For some of you that just haven't even gotten into the editor at all, I know some of you guys that do know how to build tracks are going to be like, oh my god, falling asleep in this video. But the people that haven't done it, that was kind of the quickest, easiest, most beginner tips. The easiest way to just get in there and be able to start making something. You know, that's what this video is all about. Just trying to get you in there and making something as quickly as possible without having to worry so much about all the other little things that only really matter once you already become a track maker. You know, the decals and the statues and the skybox and all that stuff only really matters when you get good enough to even want to release a track. You know, when your track even gets good enough to even be released to the public, you know, that's when you start having to really get into the actual numbers of it all and figuring out how to get your objects and stuff in there. But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.